KKVV Las Vegas.
The views, opinions, and conclusions expressed in the upcoming program are those of the participants and program owners and not necessarily those of Las Vegas Broadcasters Incorporated or its employees, management, or owners. The program you are about to hear has been pre-recorded for airing at this time. Please hold all phone calls. Once again, this is a pre-recorded program.
All right, I'm Denise Mraz, and here we are for another episode of Vegas Views TV, and I'm with Stacy today. Judge Stacy, right? That's what you want to be known?
That is what I'd like to be known as.
After the first Tuesday in November, right?
That's right.
So, how is it going, your judge campaign?
Well, it's come to a standstill.
Because of the COVID virus?
Because of the COVID virus.
How are you dealing with that on the campaign trail?
So before the campaign, before the COVID virus really hit, things were great. We were getting out, we were meeting people, we were going to meetings, we were having kickoff parties and fundraisers and rallies, everything that we normally do during a campaign. And since the virus hit and since the governor shut us down, yes.
The brakes just got thrown on.
Right.
Well, just to kind of touch base a little bit, you're family court, right?
Family court, yes.
Yeah, so how are you going to handle child support guidelines, and how have you been affected by the COVID virus regarding child support and, some of those issues?
So there's been a change in the child support formula in February. A lot of people don't know about that.
So that's like less than 2 months old.
That is less than 2 months old. So when the formula changed, we had a lot of changes in the child support anyway. Mm-hmm. And now with the COVID virus, we have people getting laid off work. Sometimes their work hours have been cut, and so child support goes off of whatever their income is. And so with the reduction in income comes the reduction in child support. So we see a lot of that right now with the COVID virus because, there's been a lot of layoffs.
Wow. Well, hopefully we'll be able to, this was kind of like a mass shift one way. Then we're going to have a mass shift another way, right, when it gets all over with. Custodial exchanges, how are those affected?
So those are affected right now because parents don't want to leave their house.
Oh.
And they don't want to leave their house even to exchange a child. And so we have a little bit of an issue right now to let the public know, it's safe to exchange a child.
Sure.
There's a court order that you have to exchange the child.
Wow.
So, exchange your children for, to make sure that everyone gets to exercise their custody.
Sure.
Where we see a bigger issue is when we have a interstate travel issue. This is spring break right now. So when we have parents that need to put their child on a plane to go to, mom or dad's house for spring break, that's a bigger issue because right now we're in lockdown. And the travel ban, and it's,
I heard we're actually going to martial law in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Is that right? No, I hadn't heard that.
And so what will we do then?
Well, then, we can't leave our homes. That's...
Okay, but we can't leave our homes, but is that constitutional?
Well, that's a bigger question, if it's constitutional at all. Even, what the governor's done right now, is that constitutional? That raises some constitutional issues.
Yeah, but nobody's standing up to it.
Nobody's standing up to it. I think we're all too afraid of the virus and what it could do to our families if we catch it, and with the death rate being so alarming.
So the death is being reported as alarming. But what we know is that the medical examiners and the doctors are being heavily handed privilege licenses. They're being told that they're going to be revoked if they don't report deaths that perhaps aren't related to a COVID virus as COVID virus. So basically anybody who it comes through the coroner's office, if their blood tests for COVID-19, they're just being reported as a COVID death. But they could have been murdered, they could have been, just died of old age. They could have been a number of different things.
Now, how are they being reported as a COVID death?
The decedent's blood is being tested, and if the blood tests positive, then they're being reported as a COVID-19 death.
Okay.
So can you imagine the pandemonium and I'll call it the pandemic? This is part of what's driving the fear, is that people are afraid of dying, and they're making you and I afraid of each other, to talk to each other, because we're afraid that you'll kill me, I'll kill you by giving you this virus. But the fact of the matter is, since the 60s, doctors have said that coronaviruses are colds. Everybody that has it has a cold. And on the flu insert is saying that if you get the flu shot, you will test positive for COVID-19. That was on the Hannity show. Other, I'll call it mainstream media have talked about this. So we're in this, crisis right now, and a lot of it's not factual. I mean...
No, it sounds like, like you said, if you've got the flu shot in the last year...
You'll test positive.
You're going to test positive.
So,
I mean, I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, and so if I died today on the way home from a car accident and I had a flu shot, I would literally be reported as a COVID-19 death.
That's right, because you're going to test positive for the COVID-19 virus.
So now we're going to be a martial law because people are testing positive, and really, is it the truth? So I go back to, based on martial law and custodial exchange, how is this fair to families?
Well, it's not really fair to families. I mean, it's something that, especially when parents are living in separate homes.
Yes.
And they're entitled to visitation with their children, an equal visitation to their children.
Right.
And if there cannot be a child exchange, well, then we're going to go into a custodial situation where, one parent is primary over the other, and that's
It's
not
a mess.
right.
It's
That's
a big
right.
mess. What made you decide for judge? I know you're Wright lawyers.
Yeah.
How long have you had Wright lawyers, and what made you decide that this was the route you wanted to go?
So Wright Lawyers is a DBA, a Rocheleau Law Group. So I've had Rocheleau Law Group since 2003.
Oh, okay.
So we've had our firm for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And we practiced exclusively family law, which
Okay.
is, divorce, custody, child support, guardianship, adoptions, alimony, things of that nature. Falls within the domestic realm. So we've had that since 2003.
It's a long time.
It's a long, long time. And
How many cases do you think you've seen in that time?
Oh my gosh.
Thousands?
Thousands. It has to be thousands.
Wow.
Yeah,
What's
thousands.
the one that stands out to you?
One that really stands out to me is it's a case where I had very, very beginning, when I was a brand new, I call it a baby attorney. And, I had this little gal, and she didn't have any money. And here I am, a brand new attorney, needing to charge clients
Right.
to pay my rent. And my heart just went out to her, and she was being battered and abused by her husband. She had no kids, but she needed to get out of this marriage. And again, she had no funds to hire an attorney with. But I took on her case, and it just made me feel so good as an attorney that this is what I knew that I wanted to do, was to help people.
Yeah.
And so by helping her, it kind of validated to me that, I'm in
That's
the
really
right
nice.
I'm in the right field.
Oh, well, did you ever see her after that?
I did not, but just
Do you
made
ever
me-
wonder what happens to everybody as the years wear on, how it all worked out, right?
I do, especially the ones that I have, kids, and I always wonder, how did these kids turn out? What happened to their parents? Hopefully the kids turned out well, because it's a lot for a child going through a divorce situation. I mean, they take on what the parents are going through, so
They can, that's for
yeah,
sure.
so I always wonder.
Well, as far as being a judge and having mediation, I see more people talking about the need for mediation, and hopefully maybe moving all of family court to a mediation first situation, and then saving I'll call it the court cases for something that are, more heavy duty issues and needs. What do you think about that approach?
I think mediation is a very, very good approach. I mean, right now we have the Family Mediation Center, and there's a mandate that all families going through a custodial dispute go to mediation first. And I think that's very, very valuable for these families because they know their schedules, they know their kids, they know, their situations better than a judge would know their situation.
Right.
So for them to be able to go in and mediate, which isn't the same as arbitration. I mean, mediation is just when you have a third party neutral helping you to fashion a resolution to your case. So they still have a lot of say over, what the outcome is. I think mediation is a very, very good tool in those family dynamic situations. And then I think to mandate mediation for the business side of it, let's call it, for the assets and debts and spousal support, I think we need that in family court. I mean, the emotions run so high.
Yes.
And, to get someone into a court situation with all of those emotions going and the anxiety building up, to have a mediation situation that they can walk into first, I think would tone down those emotions. It would really allow...
That would be very helpful.
It would be really, really helpful for the litigants to be able to do that first.
We're going to close in a couple minutes, but I did want to say something. CPS has been in the news, not in a good light, for being part of a bigger program, and let's just call it human trafficking. How do you think the role of CPS is going to look in the future now that so many CPS entities have been exposed as being a part of this? Do you see it going away? Do you see it being limited, or is it going to be reformed?
I would see CPS as being reformed. I really think there's a need for that right now. What they're doing as far as going in and taking children away from their parents, and I know you said human trafficking. I'm not aware of that allegation, but I do know that there is need for reform with the Child Protective Services.
Yeah, and maybe calling it in as a last resort instead of a first resort, or something along those lines. Yeah. Well, in our last few seconds here, if somebody says, "Why should I vote for you?" what do you tell them?
Well, I say that I'm a fair-minded judge. I have a lot of family court experience, and I think that I would be the best judge in this department.
Where could we find out more?
You can go to my website, which is rightlawyers.com, and just click on Stacy Rocheleau.
All right, Stacy. Well, thanks, and this is another episode of Vegas Views.
Thank you.